Yes, darlings, we're going to be singing by the end of the week our heart song. We're going to be very, very strong and powerful indeed, because in our innocence we fulfill our need to be reconnected with all of reality, babies. That old ancient craving down inside that just seems to itch and burn there inside of your hide. I don't care if you're genderized as a male or a female or anything in between, babies. Ooh, darling, we all turn into a loving machine when that old feeling starts to hit us again, and we feel that mama cry from way down deep inside. Well, most folks don't even recognize that's what's taking them for a ride. But babies, there it is, plain as day, right there inside you, wouldn't you say? Hey, but you've done right well with it, and here's a salute to you once again, co-link with my official Coyote Club mug with the MJ emblazoned upon it, man. God, and in keeping with tradition here, it's a token of smoke, man. Toke on the coffee cup, smoke on the J. Babies, we got this day underway, balls to the wall, in a very reclining sort of way. We're in the supine position, baby. That means we're laying back and just taking it easy and just letting this machine cruise us along. Just like you have to do when you're riding in the hot chick's car, don't you know? Wow, I tell you. Oh my, that is delicious, man, nutritious, and just, you know, and it's nice because here in Colorado, babies, the color red state, the passionate state, the state with a passion for life like you ain't never seen before, babies, everybody here in this state is here to even the score, man. We're in the state of bliss, man, because we got legal MJ everywhere you want to go, and babies, the price is modifying greatly with legalization. The criminal element is departing from its ways and becoming much more civilized, either voluntarily or involuntarily. The notion of greed, which has so long fueled the MJ business, well, of course, there's a big fire under the government's you-know-what, because they get a hell of a lot of money out of this shit. But now, because we passed an amendment a long time ago when I resided here before, it says if you get too much tax money, you got to give it back. Well, they're going to have to give us refunds, man. Isn't that something? You know, just because we let MJ have her way, man. You see, there's an energy of life, and it's part of the Great Awakening. And, you know, many of you have prejudices built in against this sacred little herb, this divine little weed, because, you know, people have convinced you that there was a reason why they made it illegal. Well, yeah, the reason they did not tell you why they made it illegal is they fear a massively enlightened population. But at the same time, they couldn't help but promote that massive population expansion, you know, by what? Making MaryJane illegal and therefore irresistible. And, you know, the criminal network started making, you know, we fueled the fires of greed, man. And everybody started making money. I mean, I lived in a place one time, you know, there in Oregon where, geez-o, there was bankers built out of the pot business back in the 70s. It was wild and woolly, and it was Vietnam all over again because of the aspect of the billions of dollars involved in some of the patches out there in the mountains. I mean, you know, this was heavy-duty, serious shit because of what? The money involved. It was crazy. But at the same time, look at it. We had to get this shit out there. If we made it legal and everybody just gone along cruising, you know, it might have taken another 300 years for it to expand out into the massive population. But if you wanted to give it a quick start, you get the criminal element involved and money involved and babies, whoo, all of a sudden it's everywhere. Where do you think those billions came from that they made there in Oregon when the old, you know, the boom was on? Where do you think all those billions came from? You know, your pocket and mine. You know, all across the world, people were beginning to experience the divine by toking on a little MJ along the way. Now, can you beat that? Now you know why I do a television show. So, television sow. How many out there ever raised pigs? I have, man. And I learned to be affectionate with piggies even, man. I tell you what. This is just a little aside, but it's fun. You know, I used to show pigs when I was a kid, you know, at the county fairs and shit. I can't remember what they call all them stock shows. Even at the state fair I would show pigs too, you know. And I had a lot of fun doing it, man. But you know, you get so attached to those animals. I did one that was a fat hog, and I never did it again. I never, ever did it again because I felt like a traitor when that boy got sold down the highway. Sure, I got $6 a pound or something for him, some outrageous, ridiculous price. Fun. But at the same time, the money was useless to me. You know, I just felt like hell. I'd let go of a buddy and let him go to the butcher. I don't care how gentle the butcher was. It was just like selling one of your soul brothers down the river, and it's like, do I have to do that again, man? Shit, I won't do it again. So then I started raising purebred stock so other people could buy them for breeders and stuff, you know. And then I didn't have to part my ways with my animals. And if I did, they went to a really nice home where they would be highly cared for because they were prize stock, you see. I did the same thing with cattle. You know, I had that experience. I sold one fat steer. I'll never do it again as long as I live. I tell you, it just killed me. You know, it slayed me. You spend a lot of time with these animals when you're prepping them for a show, you know. And of course, you know, the FFA and all that, they want you to be, you know, grooming and, you know, paying attention to all these chicken shit little details because that's what you get rated on at the big show, you know. Well, screw all that. You know, I did as much of it as I could, but at the same time, it was like, babies, I just wanted to, you know, have a good time with these animals. And, you know, I remember old Elbars. Now, he was like a big old black Angus bull. I bought him, you know, for my dad because he needed to switch over and get into the black Angus, you know. And he did, too. We got old Elbars in there, man. He bred the hell out of them, man. We had a really good stock of, you know, hybrid cattle that fall. But I was training him for the state fair, you know. I have a rope halter on him. And, you know, this boy just would not do it, you know. And, you know, he just couldn't quite get the drift, you know. And he's so darn big, you know, well, what do? He's not going to hurt you unless you really piss him off. But, you know, he's just like this mellow old boy that just wants to, you know, eat grain and screw cows. That's his job, you know. And that's all he wants to do. So I got to convince him otherwise that, you know, it's fun to go out there and mingle with the people and show your big arse off, man, you know. And he just wasn't getting the drift of it. So one day I tied him behind the old Super C tractor and you know, with the halter on the tow bar there, you know. And I put it in a real low idle, and I put it down in Grandma, which is really slow. And he and I just took a stroll across the big lawn out there with the tractor going, you know. And he would pull along for a minute, and then he'd resist, but the rope was really strong. Must have been made out of hemp, because it sure held him. You know, it's a halter I built myself, too. And then he'd get down on his knees, you know, and skid along the grass for a little bit. And sooner or later he got the idea, had to get up and kind of follow that tug. You know, it took a little while, but he did it, you know. And, you know, I only had to do that once. And after that, anytime I put that halter on him, and he was tame enough, I could just walk out there and slip it on him. He was like in the mood, man. He liked me, you know. We had a good time together, old Elbars and I. And we began to understand one another after that moment. You know, sometimes in the animal world, that's what it takes to develop an understanding, is a little roughness, you know. I mean, you know, I hate to say it, you know, but you be as gentle about it as you can possibly be. And see, I was just a young man then, just a kid, just learning how to be a human being and how to, you know, get along in this world, especially with the animal kingdom, you know. And thank God I had them around me when I was a kid, because they were the most loving things I found back in those days. The human beings around me tried to be, you know, but oh God, they were sadly lacking. You know, they couldn't help it. You know, there's energies alive in that place where I grew up that would just, you know, drive a banana off the tree. You know what I mean? It was just intense and not a lot of fun sometimes. But there were some loving moments. But most of mine were with my animals. You know, I rescued a dog from the pound one time when I was working off fines for smoking cigarettes. They'd fine me $50 for smoking cigarettes, which meant I had to contribute 50 hours to the community, because my old man would, you know, even though I was on the payroll and shit, he made sure I never had money enough to pay that shit. You go work it off, kid. So I'd be painting crosswalks on the streets, and I'd be cleaning out the dog pound and things like that, you know, for the community. And I met old Bass down there, this little basset hound that was kind of a wily guy that liked to roam, just like me, you know. And God, we understood one another really well, you know, and we just bonded like crazy. And there's no way I could let him take him to the gas factory. And that's what they would do there, you know. It's pretty brutal reality, man. You know, the old cowboy way is tough, man. It's just like, wow, either you're cutting it or you're not. And bingo if you're not, man. Wow, especially if you're a dog. It was just awful, man. You know, I hated being around that shit. But, you know, it's part of my life. I had to be there. But I found a way. I don't know how the hell I did it, but I found a way to rescue that dog and bring him on home with me. And he was my buddy. He got me through my younger and middle teens, man. I tell you, that guy was like connected, and I loved that dog, you know. And he and I are still like, I mean, you know, together in the heart. Same as I am with old Elbars and all the cattle and pigs and everybody else that we worked with and as a kid to go take them to the shows. And those shows were fun, too, because there'd be girls there, you know. And I didn't get a whole lot of chance to party down with the girls without some kind of dumbass chaperone around. So it was fun, to, you know, to finally have a moment where I could actually talk to somebody and, you know, look them in the eye and, you know, figure out who they are and what's going on and shit like, I mean, you know, communication, man. Didn't have a lot of it in those days, you know. So you had to find it where you could find it, and that's where the animals came into play, because I could communicate with them easy, and they with me too, you know. And we got along. You see, Elbars respected me for that. He just a little, you see, cattle, all cattle, have this kind of single-mindedness, you know. And when they, you know, put their mind in one direction, it's pretty hard to change it. They're real stubborn that way, you know. So Elbars just wasn't getting the idea, you know, that he just needed to be led around a little bit, you know, and let me do it, you know. He just wasn't getting the idea. He was thinking, man, this kid's pulling on me and I don't like it, you know. So we had to kind of develop an understanding, overcome his stubborn and strenuous objection, you know, and we did it as gentle as possible. It was awesome how it all worked out, you know, because that grass don't hurt him any. That grass was like 12 inches tall, you know, nice and soft and gooey as all get out, so you could slide along on your knees on that and just have a good time doing it, too. In fact, I think he did it for fun a time or two after he got past the stubborn shit, you know. I tell you, cattle, I used to have a ranch in Oregon, way back in the mountains, so there's range cattle around. They weren't mine, they belonged to another guy, but we got along real well, but these damn range cows and I did not. You know, I'd get my hay harvested and get it all baled up, and you know, you know, there'd be a lot of bales, so it'd take a day or two to get it all out of the field, and them damn cows smell that stuff from up the canyon, come cruising down at night and break down my fences and go start eating them bales and shitting in them and scattering them all over. Oh, man, you know, that's like $3 a bale, man. You don't do that, you dumb cows. So I'd get on my old horse and ride him back up the canyon, drive him back up the canyon. They'd stay away for a few days, and I'd get my hay harvested, and everything was cool. But I'd always lose a few bales to them, you know. They're so stubborn, man. I'm telling you, they single-minded. When they get their mind on something, you just get out of the way, because that's the way it's going to be, you know, unless you get a good horse and, you know, chase them around, or a good dog, whatever, you know, good herding dog, whatever. It's really difficult to change their minds, you know. And it's kind of funny, like, say you're loading a load of cattle, you're going to take them from one range to another, and one of them, just one of them, gets stubborn and says, no, I ain't going to do this, you know, and somehow busts down the corral somewhere or the chute somewhere, you know. This is back in the day when we made them out of pole logs and stuff like that. And, buddy, we'd build them as tough as we could, but if one of those cattle decided they did not want to go, you know, they could bust down that heavy, I mean, with railroad ties holding it up, they could bust through that stuff. And then the whole herd, of course, would go with them, or try to. You know, you had to move quick to cut them off at the pass before because they will. One goes, they all go. You know, that's the other thing they do. They're herd animals, babies. Single-minded herd animals. Incredible beings. I never met anything more content than a cow, or a bull even, you know. I mean, they just love sitting there chewing their cud. I mean, that's serenity such as no human being has managed to achieve until maybe the times of now. That's how solid and whole the cattle are in the reality. I suppose, in this illusion that we live in, that's part of the reason why we eat of them, because we're trying to get that peace back into ourselves, except we can't cough it up and chew it, and we wouldn't want to anyway. God, talk about gross, huh? But to a cow, that's natural as all get out, and this is where she contemplates the nature of the universe and her position in it, and is perfectly content. You see a great big old heart alive in that great big old cow sitting there on that mound of manure chewing her cud, man. She's happy. It don't matter what condition she's in or what. When she's there chewing her cud, or he's there, I mean, the old bulls do it too, man. That is happiness. That is contentment. And that's the kind of contentment the human being really needs to remember inside of themselves. You see, each and every one of us. This is another thing the cattle, why they have so closely associated with us as a species, because they were there to remind us of what we were missing, to bring that old feeling back up, so you could deal with it, so you could understand, there is something that the cow has that you don't, at least not just yet. So babies, you expose yourself to this kind of life, and guess what? The cattle teach you and teach you well, just by sitting around and chewing their cud and being real single-minded, because that reminds you a lot of your own stubbornness, Sometimes you do. You get in that flow where you think you know, and you're just going to stay with it no matter what. And guess what? He kicks your ass every time. Says, you don't know shit, old man. Get on with it. Just like them old cows kick your ass when they want to. They like you to know that they really have the upper hand, and they do. They're huge animals. They can pretty much bust down any fence. I don't care how tough you build something. If they want to go through it, they're going to find a way. They're going to bust the chain on the damn gate, whatever, but they're going to get out. If that's what they want to do, they're going, So this is why they have, and do this every now and then, is just to remind us of who's really in charge here, and it ain't us. They're just going along with the bullshit, and horribly so at times. I mean, they are some of the most horribly treated animals on the face of this earth. And I won't go on to describe why. Most of you are aware of it. The slaughter industry here is just an obscenity. I mean, it's worse than Auschwitz had ever dreamed of being, I mean, it's an obscenity, a blight on our heart that we're having to deal with, and again, and this is how we get by that blight, is by understanding that the cattle have moved with us voluntarily and allowed the abuse. Again, I point out, because of their largeness and their single-mindedness and their incredible ability to focus that single-mindedness in a herd way, they don't have to put up with this shit. Not for a minute. Just like the horse. You can't, if a horse wants out, you can't keep him in. You'd have to put him in a great big old zoo cage or something, with bars all around, bars of steel. And even then, they're going to find a way to jimmy the lock. Horses ain't stupid, man. See, the animal kingdom on all levels, is voluntarily cooperative with us because they understand the sickness that we inherited, from our ancestors. They understand the ancestral flow. They understand the need for humanity to be reminded that it doesn't have a lot of peace in itself, and it needs to get on with the show and get in the glow. So old Mama Cow says, chew my cud here and let you know. Feel this peace, old man. Feel this reality. Feel the contentment, and be jealous of the cow. Well, in some levels, in some ways, in that juvenile thing, we do get kind of jealous because they got something we ain't. But when we see those kind of shallow feelings coming up, I'm going to hate this cow because she got more than I got. Shoot. Babies, what an obscenity that is. Just look at it and let it go. It's like, what a silly thought to be having. I'm glad for you, cow, and thanks for being here to set the example and show me the way. And remind me each and every day of what I'm missing. Yeah, it's kind of a torment to be reminded like that, and that's why I get the hatred thing going on. And I'm sorry, old cow, and I won't do that again, etc., etc. However it goes, everybody on this earth, even the toughest old ranchers you ever met, that have abused cattle like it's nothing since they were kids, I mean, this is the kind of world you're born into. That's the life is that brutality that doesn't pay attention to the consciousness of any other being or respect it either. It's the old ways, babies, but the new days, that even the hardest and most brainwashed of the bunch is finding tender ways to deal with their animals, is finding new ways to employ and gain it that doesn't always involve slaughter, etc., etc. We're changing. No heart can refuse the reality of the truthful love that the contented old cow has held so deeply for us, and now allows herself and his self to share with the likes of you and I. You see, we can develop that kind of contentment. We've got to chew our cud in our own way. And what is that? Giving yourself a little time, especially out in nature, but wherever, giving ourselves a little quiet, private time somewhere that we can experience our creation in reality and find that same contentment as that old cow. You see, she's here to share that gift with you. And she's done it through her progeny as well as through her energy, as well as through her sterling example. And not everybody's been conscious enough to see it. In fact, hardly anyone. It took me a while to develop some awareness of what the hell's really going on here, and I start to understand more essentially how things work here, and what we create for ourselves to remind ourselves of what's really happening. That we're here to develop senses and incredible feelings that are so deep and so profound that they've never been found before. And then we're here to share those feelings, those deep feelings, with all of creation, to bring everyone into the feeling mode so there will never be an atmosphere of warlike attitudes either against animals or persons or anybody else or anything else. You see, it's the great equity coming into being, the thing that the cow experiences when she's chewing her cud, and the thing you can experience. And if you don't quite get it, even when you get yourself these quiet times, then a little MJ will help you open up and find a way. It's not a necessity. It's not a requirement. And it's still illegal in a lot of places, and that's stupid. But, if you can lay your hands on a little, and it will help you. Just don't overdo it. But even if you do, it's okay. If it knocks you right out, it's okay. You're re-assimilating even as you're lying there all knocked out. You're re-energizing. You're recomposing yourself. A speck here, a speck there, but you're doing it just the same. And as you continue this process, you will become conscious of what, the major overhaul is that's going on inside of you. And it is major. And it is all across the board, all across the globe. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 10. It's a whole God-blessed bunch of us. The mass of humanity is undergoing this process, like it or not. Now, this makes some people really cling to the crap they've known in the past, instead of let go of it, But the tighter you cling, the more there is nothing there to hold on to, the more you see that, and so you spring out of it anyway. Whichever way you go with this is cool. It's just a whole lot smoother path if you journey with it from the heart way, in the heart level. And that's why I advocate taking your time to get out there and chew your own cud, okay? That's the cowboy way. It's also the coyote way, because we're always pulling a joke on ourselves, just like we kept these cattle around to remind us of contentment. I mean, and to carry that energy for us. We couldn't hold it, shit. We were giving everything up when we stepped in the door here and became human beings. We were giving up all of our powers and magic and accepting a position of powerlessness. So, then we have to compensate by having power over animals. Incredible, insane psychology. Incredible, insane behavioral control practiced on the mass of humanity by energies that seem to come from beyond them, which is why we develop such cruel and brutal practices in the first place. Such heartless means of going on. Because we didn't even know we had a fucking heart there for a while, in the dark ages, man. There wasn't much of it left, but enough to get us through, obviously, or we wouldn't be here on this part of the timeline where we are right now, you see. It all developed rather unnaturally, but naturally as all get out in its own brutal way. And babies, I think we've had enough of that now. I think we can let it go, I don't think we can ever again let anyone conceive of nuclear weapons and mass annihilations and, trying to spread the chicken pox to kill everybody, stuff like that, whatever it is, spraying stuff in the atmosphere. There's some real nasty human beings here that treat people like they're cattle, like they're cattle to be treated like the people treat the cattle, you see, and it's just an insane thing. But the first thing you do when you see that in your life is let it go. You don't be a part of it. You don't respond, you don't react, you don't hate these beings. Don't mean you accept the activities they're up to, but at the same time, you see the presence of life there. And you can respect that life, and you can begin to understand that that's some aspect of you that's gotten warped out of style, and you need to spend a little time inside and find out where that conflict is and resolve it. You see, and then you'll never again, ever participate in a world of brutality. So that's what I mean when I say it's a smooth ride into planetary ascension. But it's going to take a little doing. There's some things we have to let go of, some behaviors and so forth, that we've kind of let become ingrained within us as if it's natural, and it's not. The natural person, the natural being, lives in the flowing glow of love in every moment, with every breath they take, with every move they make. That is the natural way of being. It's not to live in a world that's brutal and cold. That's insanity. That's unreality. That's illusion. The biggest frickin' lie ever practiced on human beings. Because we are not naturally cruel. We are not naturally cut off from one another or from the life around us. That is not nature. Nature, as in most things in this reality, is 180 degrees different from what you see here. In other words, we're already content, we're already in tune with all life that is, and all we got to do is realize that. But it takes a bit of doing because we've been so programmed away from it. And babies, it's programming. It comes through the generations. Somebody somewhere way back when started it, and it just feeds through. It's like automatic. It doesn't have to be reinforced in each and every life, though quite often it is. We've been dabbled with by beings from the great beyond here that have helped us along the way in this heartless sort of living, this living without a heart kind of thing, and they wanted, these were beings that were, which really, in reality, you take it to another level, they're incredible teachers, but they're, meaner than shit. They're like that second grade teacher I have that used to like to hammer my head into the desk. And when I cut my hair so she couldn't hammer my smart little nose into the desk, anymore by pulling my hair and slamming my head into the desk, well, then she grabbed me by the ears and did it anyway. That's the kind of cruel that we've seen in this reality. In my time, that was acceptable behavior for a school teacher. In my younger days, they believed, training the kids the same way you train the cattle. Brutal means, man, wow, harsh stuff. But I only point that out to see, they've just taken that and expanded it out into a much broader scale now, where the government can take you and slam your face into the ground anytime it wants to, etc., you see. And you're essentially powerless against that? I don't think so. This is why they outlawed this shit, and this is why Colorado had to lead the way in bringing it back, because it's about the freest state there is, And these days, it's all police state, but, here it's kind of a farce, They're just going along because they have to get along with the feds, but it ain't going to last forever. We're changing things so fast here. A population as enlightened as Coloradans are now, and those in surrounding states, because there's an ample supply as much as it pisses them off. You can't keep it out. You can't keep it away from the people. You might as well just cave in and join us, and let's all party and have a heart together, shall we? You know, I mean, this insanity of thinking some people are wrong and some people are right and all this shit, you know. Well, let me tell you, the way I handle it is some people are more agreeable to my atmosphere than others, and those are the ones I want to spend time with. The ones that aren't so agreeable, well, I still love them from a distance, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take any shit from them whatsoever. Yeah, I don't, you know, or very little, but I can sure take a lot when I want to. But basically, I don't take shit from people. I'm real laid back about things, but there's a point. You just don't push me. You just don't drag me into your shit. I don't drag you into mine. We just party together, you see. That's all. You know, we play together. Or we're children. In the playpen of life, the giant womb of love that we live in, which is called, you know, the Matrix. Oh, we'll get into that some more. I don't want to go too far. It's early in the day, man. Shoot. We already got balls to the wall and then some. Oh, Abba got their dream empowered just a bit more by, you know, the other guys there, man. You know, by old, well, shit, I can't even remember who the hell did that. Yeah, Accept. Yeah, Accept. That's it. By old, funny. You can accept when you got balls to the wall, huh? Oh, the poetic symbolism all throughout this life, baby. It's a totally creative and real atmosphere, baby. And you're just starting to catch on how much control we really have here. Control meaning from the heart, not from the mind, not from the fear. The fear will never give you control, no matter how much in control you think you are right now. It's so fucking falling apart. You know, I mean, there is no one here that has control of anything. You know, we have to learn to move away from such terminology. Think of the flow rather than control. And the flow is where you go when you want to know and you want to be, and you're totally in the life. And that's where we're all headed anyway, because that's where we live, whether we know it or not. The life of illusion is coming undone. The sun is melting away the veils because it's amping up. And I'm not talking just about the sun in the sky, the sun in your heart, the sun that gives you the reason why, the sun that employs you in service to the great heart in all, the sun which is the one that activates life, the light, the little specter of love from which all life originates and is constructed of that same element, of that same essential little seed of light, a little speck of glittery something that becomes what we are and what we see around us, you know, computers and desks and trees and forests and all that good shit. It's all made of the same thing we are. You know, just like this mug, it's made out of mud, same as human beings are. The light gets in the mud and energizes, and wow, there comes some life, some animate life with feelings and so forth. Angels taking form in the organic. It never happened before. It's a new experience for the universe, and they created us as the children of the universe to participate in this grand experience. For them, for all of creation, for we are creation's beginnings. Within each and every one of us exists that reality. It is from our heart that the creation flows. And all that exists here and all that teaches us and trains us, including the animals, is a part of that heart and that creation that comes forward from it. And we're unified completely with all of this life. There is no co-creation. There is no, connection. It's way beyond that. It's the same person in everything that lives. Everything. There's your God. There's your great spirit. There's your reality. There's your truth. And you have it in fullness inside of you, and so do I too. And we're just, starting to catch on. You got to allow that, we've been manipulated and messed around, and we kind of got used to the dumbness and the numbness here, and we kind of like it. We like to play in that. It gives us an excuse to be a little wild and raunchy every now and then, and here's to that too. Oh my God. But now the wild and raunchy takes on a whole new aspect. And what do you think that might be? Peaceful contentment. People partying down in a reality because they're so God-blessed happy. I see people gathering in mountain valleys and, the wide areas of the earth and just doing the greatest partying that's ever been done. More music than we've ever seen. More life lived. I mean, think about all the dour, sour people around you all of a sudden finding light, love, and happiness. and thinking, well, we got to get the hell out of this city, out to the cow pastures and dance on some patties for a while. Everybody gets the same compulsion at the same time. The party's on at our place. Mother Earth. Yes, indeedy. Mother Earth. Oh, Gaia. She says, I'm in the mood, babies. I think you guys got me rocking. Now let's get the universe talking and walking this way, because they're all here anyway. We're just opening our hearts up so they can come on in and party with us. That's what we're doing here today on this Coyote Medicine Show, in this coyote way. As old Grandpa says, let's get out there and play, babies, and have a great time with it. Just let it glow. Just let it glow.
Hey, this time